Hi, I'm Julie Cosgrove. I'm with Keller Williams Realty, and I'm here today with a good friend and attorney of mine, David Dervon. And David has been instrumental in helping me with clients who had questions with regards to bankruptcy. So that's what we're going to talk today about, bankruptcies. So David, probably the first question I have to ask, and people come to me and ask me if they should do a bankruptcy, and obviously I have to refer them to you. But what constitutes a good reason for somebody to be able to do a bankruptcy?
Well, Julie, first of all, thank you for having me. When people come to me considering or for advice with respect to bankruptcy, the first question is, are they able to, handle their debt load, and can they service that debt load? And that's what we first take a look at.
So do you pick, or not you pick, but do you tell them what would be better to do, a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13 in their bankruptcy?
I do. We do an initial evaluation, of the case, and then we make a determination with respect to which of the two bankruptcy codes would be more appropriate for the person to file under.
Okay, so explain a little bit about each one. I know it's a lot to get into, but explain a little bit about what each one would mean to a potential client.
Well, very briefly, there are two types of bankruptcies available for individuals. The first is a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which results in a discharge of all or nearly all of your unsecured debt. The second bankruptcy is a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, which does not result in a complete discharge, but it's actually a reorganization of your unsecured debt. So it involves a plan of repayment, partial repayment to your creditors.
So I would say, in just listening to you, that probably a Chapter 13 would be one that somebody would do if they were trying to consider keeping their home. Because my job is to consult people on whether it's a good idea to keep their home, try and sell their home in a short sale, or what their options might be. A Chapter 13 would be a place where they would probably be trying to keep their home.
Well, actually in both. Chapter 7 makes more sense if a person is so far underwater in their home that they don't expect, within a reasonable time to recoup that equity. And in addition to that, if they have a significant amount of unsecured debt, then sometimes it makes sense for them to allow their home to go back, either in a foreclosure or what have you, and then that unsecured debt then can be discharged.
Okay, so if they were going to do a Chapter 7 and say they're way upside down on their house, and not upside down in their house, but in their payments, if they're upside down in their house and their payments are behind, say, $15,000, $20,000 at this point, what happens with those payments if they do a Chapter 7? Well,
all of the personal liability for the loan obligation is discharged if they leave, if they're not in the premises.
Okay, so but that would not, if they're going to stay in the house though, if they want to stay in that house, they still have to figure out how to make up those back payments.
Exactly. If they're going to stay in the house and there's no equity in the home, if it's a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, the bankruptcy trustee for the Chapter 7 case is not going to concern himself with the home. It's simply going to pass through the bankruptcy, and the individual is going to remain liable under the terms of the loan contract.
Okay. So a Chapter 13, though, that would be when they could reorganize and maybe have those payments put on the back of their loan, and to be able to start fresh making those house payments again with their lender.
Actually, what happens in a Chapter 13 reorganization bankruptcy, there is a plan of repayment that is formulated and approved at some level by the court, wherein the arrearages on the loan, in order to make that loan current, the arrearages are allowed to go into the plan of repayment. And in certain circumstances, you can actually strip off a second loan as well.
That was going to be my next question. So what does happen when you say strip off a second? What does that mean?
Well, it means that you can actually make that second loan go away and no longer be obligated to pay that second loan.
Would that be just in a 13, or could it happen in a Chapter 7 as well?
Just in a 13, and only under certain specific circumstances.
Got it. So David, the other thing I wanted to just make clear, how long, once somebody files a bankruptcy, and this is for, this is my knowledge that I know, once somebody does file a bankruptcy and they don't do a short sale, or they don't let their house go to foreclosure, they can qualify for a new loan to purchase another home in 2 years once that bankruptcy has been discharged. So that part I do know. But one of the things I just wanted to make clear so people understand is that even though you're doing a bankruptcy and you have included your home in the bankruptcy, you still are obligated to that bank. Your time to purchase a new home doesn't start once the bankruptcy is discharged. Your opportunity to buy a new home starts once the bank takes your home back. So I've had clients who have filed a bankruptcy, let their houses go to short sale or foreclosure, and just kind of walked away. And she thought because her bankruptcy had discharged and her house was included in that bankruptcy that she was eligible to buy a house once the bankruptcy was discharged. That isn't the case. The case is that once a home is gone actually back into the name of the bank is when you can actually 3 years later qualify to buy a new home. Does it take to file another bankruptcy?
The law is very clear on that issue. If you filed a Chapter 7 bankruptcy that has resulted in a discharge, then you're precluded by law from filing a second Chapter 7 bankruptcy for 8 years from the date you filed the first petition. Chapter 13 bankruptcies in most cases are 6 years.
Right. So the other thing is that I know that I've got friends, family, acquaintances, people that have wanted to, file a bankruptcy because I know without giving tax advice, it does help relieve some tax implications. But they're precluded from filing like a Chapter 7 because they've got equity in some other properties or something. Can you go into that a little bit?
Well, you can maintain a certain amount of equity in property that you own and still file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So just because you have equity in assets that you own does not necessarily preclude you. You have roughly up to $22,000 in equity in the aggregate that you can exempt from the bankruptcy process. And you can actually still file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy if you have more, but then you're in a situation where you may have to tender the overages to the trustee, and we can get into a negotiation with the trustee on those issues. So,
and that's why you called David to have a consultation on whether you can qualify for a bankruptcy. Right. David, is there anything else that we've missed that you think is important that we share?
Well, no. I mean, if anybody's interested in a free bankruptcy consultation, just to get information that might help you make an intelligent decision about, what to do, whether it be in a real estate context or otherwise, please feel free to give me a call. My local number is 209-942-3276, and you can email me at drivon@comcast.net.
Great, thank you, David. The other one thing I do want to mention too is that while you are getting consultation to do a bankruptcy and you think it's not going to be possible to keep your home, please remember the short sale is probably the better way to go rather than just letting your house walk away and go to foreclosure. So I want to encourage you that you not only get your legal advice, your tax advice, but get realtor advice and get advice from a realtor who has experience in the short sale process. My name is Julie Cosgrove and you're watching It's All About Me, helping you. And David, thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate your help. You could please give me a call or email me. My email is jcosgrove@kw.com and my phone number is 866-485-9641. Thank you.